So today, we're going to talk about one of the most ambitious urban reforms happening anywhere in the world. Seriously. Down in Aotearoa, New Zealand, they're attempting what is basically a full system upgrade for their cities. And look, this isn't just about tweaking a few rules. It's a whole new operating system for how and where people live. Okay, let's get right into it.
It all really starts with a question that I think we can all relate to, right? No matter where you are. Why has it gotten so ridiculously expensive and complicated to build anything? The old system was just bogged down. It created all these bottlenecks that made our cities unaffordable, inefficient. This new plan is designed to fix that problem at its very core. But to really get the solution, we first have to put a name to the problem. And planners are now talking about this concept called regulatory debt. It's not just about having a few bad rules. Nope, it's about the massive long-term bill that finally comes due after decades of really poor planning. Right, so here's the key takeaway. Regulatory debt is the actual cost of past mistakes. I mean, think about it. All those endless, super expensive pipe networks for suburbs that are miles from anywhere, or those seas of asphalt we have to maintain. It's a real debt that's crushing city budgets, and this new system is designed to finally start paying it off. So if you're going to do such a radical overhaul, where do you even look for inspiration? Well, Aotearoa looked to a country that famously cracked its own housing crisis decades ago, Japan. The DNA of this new system is basically a direct import of their land use law from 1974, which amazingly managed to stabilize housing costs and protect farmland at the same time. And the whole philosophy is beautifully simple. On the left, you see Japan's 13 base zones, a system that brought incredible clarity. And on the right, that's Aotearoa's new framework. They've streamlined over 1,000 different local zones down to just about 20 national ones. It's this exact shift, from total chaos to crystal clarity, that was the key to Japan's success, and it's the foundation of this new plan. The whole thing rests on these four pillars, and they're borrowed directly from that successful Japanese law. And I want you to notice the emphasis here. Public welfare comes first. It's all about designing cities for our collective health and well-being, not just, making room for more cars or protecting one person's preferences. All right, now for the main event. This is the central mechanism of the entire reform. It's a really powerful metaphor and an even more powerful planning tool called the urban dam. This is exactly how the system is going to actively manage growth and literally stop urban sprawl in its tracks. So the model has two really simple parts. On one side, you've got the Urbanization Promoting Area, or UPA. The best way to think of this is like a 10-year reservoir for growth, where the government pours in all the infrastructure first. Then, on the other side, you have the Urbanization Control Area, the UCA, and that acts as the dam wall, telling the market, nope, no sprawl is happening here, period. And here is how it all comes together visually. See, the dam physically contains the city. It stops it from leaking out into those unserviced, super expensive fringe areas. But here's the really brilliant economic trick. It completely chokes off speculative land banking. By drawing a hard line in the sand, this system ties a piece of land's value to its actual use, like being near transit, not just the hope that a farm might one day become a suburb. Okay, so the urban dam contains the physical city. But to make that work, the system also had to tackle the regulatory chaos. The next huge step was to replace that messy, confusing patchwork of local rules with a single, universal code that applies absolutely everywhere. Just look at this number. This is what builders and planners were dealing with before. Over 1,175 different sets of rules across the country. It was a total postcode lottery, where what you could build depended entirely on which side of an arbitrary line you happen to be on. I mean, what a mess. And this is the new reality. That insane number gets replaced by about 20 national standardized zones. It doesn't matter if you're in the north or the south, the rules for, say, a mid-rise residential zone are exactly the same. The benefit of this is just enormous. Having this universal language means the construction industry can finally operate at a national scale. It gives them the legal certainty they need to invest in new building tech and create long-term plans. And that is absolutely vital if you're serious about tackling a housing crisis. I love this quote because it perfectly captures the revolution that's happening behind the scenes. The old system was a culture of permission, right? Every single project was this long, subjective negotiation. The new system is a culture of adherence. Basically, if your project follows the clear, objective rules, you just get the permit. End of story.
And to make sure this actually works, the law explicitly tells planners what they have to ignore. Section 14 just takes the most common lawsuit-prone things right off the table. So arguments about someone's private view, or the vague character of a neighborhood, or even the social status of who might move in, they're now legally irrelevant.
But here's the thing. This system isn't just about building faster. It's about building better. The ultimate goal is to create what the architects of this whole thing call a resilient habitat. And they boil it down to a simple but really powerful equation.
The equation has three parts. First up is the science, which sets the biological standards for what makes a city healthy. Next is the tool that actually delivers on that science. That's the whole planning system, the urban dom, the zones, all of it acting like a funnel, guiding development to the right places. And finally, there's the limit, which sets the hard lines that we just can't cross.
So let's look at the science part. This 330-300 rule is actually a technical requirement written right into the new zones. It means every resident has to be able to see 3 trees from their home, live in a neighborhood that has a 30% tree canopy, and be within a 300-meter walk of a green space. Basically, nature is treated as an essential green utility, just like water or power. And what's so cool is that this green utility has a huge financial payoff. By designing what they call sponge cities, cities that manage stormwater with trees and parks instead of just bigger pipes, they can save up to 50% on traditional infrastructure costs. It's just another way of paying off that regulatory debt we talked about. And finally, the limit. This is the red line policy. It forces planners to look 100 years into the future, all the way to the year 2026. And then it prohibits any development in areas that are identified as high risk from things like floods or sea level rise. It's a policy of getting ahead of the problem, not just cleaning up after it. This quote, I think, really gets to the soul of this whole reform. It's this recognition that the rules we write today don't just shape buildings. They shape the society, the health, and the future resilience of the people who are going to live in those buildings for the next 100 years. Which kind of leaves us with this one big thought to chew on. We talk all the time about upgrading the software on our phones, but what does it actually take to upgrade the fundamental operating system of an entire city while millions of people are still living and working in it? Aotearoa is finding out right now, and believe me, the rest of the world is watching.